everyone. Today I wanted to read something that I wrote in my journal back when I was studying about the wilderness wandering. So here we go. For God to get his people out of slavery was no small feat. I mean, it is a small feat for God, but I mean that figuratively. For God to get his people out of slavery, it was no small feat, mainly because of the dynamics of free will, juxtaposed with God choosing to partner with man to move his kingdom agenda forward, which requires that man learn God's patterns and walks in his ways. So here we have the children of Israel, a chosen people, yet broken in spirit beyond repair, owing to their cruel bondage under their harsh taskmasters. And here we have a... let me just get my glasses. I'm struggling, people. I'm struggling. I gotta get my glasses. Forgive me. And here we have a covenant-keeping God that simply must keep his promise to Abraham, the patriarch from whom the tribes of Israel descended, traced back up through Jacob, whose name God had changed to Israel, and Isaac, birth to Abraham and Sarah. Moses, an Israelite of the tribe of Levi by birth, was raised in the royal family of Pharaoh. A new Pharaoh had arisen, and fearing that the ever-increasing Hebrew population would one day side with an invading army to fight against them and escape their captivity, this new Pharaoh had ordained that all sons born to Hebrew mothers be killed at the birth stool. Moses, born under this decree, was hidden and through divine intervention raised as an Egyptian in the house of Pharaoh, but unbeknownst to the Pharaoh himself, meaning he was a future Egyptian prince in the making. So through a series of circumstances spanning decades of God breaking and making him, Moses was groomed to be the deliverer of the Israelites out of Egypt. After his own various objections and resistance, he finally succumbed to the calling and stepped forward to be used of God. After his first appearance before Pharaoh, asking that his people be let go in order to worship God in the wilderness, he got his first taste of the people he would be saddled with for decades. I guess this goes to leaders. So he got a first taste of the people he would be saddled with for decades to lead out of captivity and into the land of freedom that God had promised them, the one flowing with milk and honey, as opposed to the one where they slaved away at. And these are my thoughts. These are like the analysis I write down when I'm reading my Bible. These are things I'm encountering in the Spirit when I ask the Holy Spirit to guide me, to bring revelation. And because I was going to say I'm a journalist, no, because I've been journaling or keeping a diary since I was a teenager, I write. I think best through writing. I understand better when I write. So even when I read the Bible, I think that's why it's a slog, because I stop every so often. I can be in a chapter for up to a week because I'm writing, and then tomorrow I think about something else and I write some more. So I do have a lot of these writings that I'll be sharing with you, and I hope you don't mind, because it helps me to, first of all, remember them, and then also talk about them some more and renew my mind with these truths and these realities. Besides the decree to kill all Hebrew boys, I think Moses was also spared so that his spirit would not be broken beyond reach. See, the Israelites in captivity had stayed for so long that their spirits were broken, and they were completely unable to recover. So I imagine that had Moses been in captivity as well, his spirit would have been equally broken, because after he had killed the Egyptian and one of the Israelites had almost not necessarily threatened to expose him, but had said, I know what you did, and then he had to flee. Had he not fled, he would have either been put to death or probably relegated to a slave, who knows? And so to spare him, he had then escaped to the backside of the wilderness where he had stayed for 70-something years. And so I believe that him escaping was a way for God to preserve his spirit so it wouldn't be broken, because God knew a deliverer would have to come from among them and would have to be sent back to them to save them. And that again denotes God's capacity, God's ability to work through our blunders to still bring about his will despite our free will and the actions we choose to take in accordance with our free will. And I just think that again is a quality of a supernatural God, a God who might foreknow what we're going to do, but still chooses to allow us to do whatever our free will allow us to do, and then goes the extra mile to still work his will through all our blunders, and everything still worked out for our good, and everything still worked out for his glory. I mean, what could be more supernatural than that, if you ask me? Anyway, the Israelites did not. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna make this larger because my glasses are giving me a headache. I'm not really used to that. So what's more, The Israelites did not assist in their deliverance from captivity. They were not cooperative. If anything, they were kicking and screaming the entire way, blaming Moses every chance they got. As Exodus 6:9 says, they could not hearken to Moses because of their broken spirit and cruel bondage. So there we learn that your spirit can be so broken from cruelty. Your spirit can be so broken that you're completely unable to arise. I think when hope leaves, everything else is lost. Hope is supreme. When we keep hope alive, when we expect things to turn around, there's hope for us. But when you give up, the battlefield is really the mind. When you give up in the mind, I think all is lost. And that seems to have been the case here. So it means one can be so broken in spirit that they fail to respond to offered deliverance, even from captivity. One can be so broken in spirit that they have learned to endure their current circumstances, their current conditions. And the same applies to modern day slavery. We go to work every day and we get so used to work, we don't even realize that the work we're doing is killing our dreams, the real reason for which we were born, the ordinations we were sent to accomplish, the offices we're supposed to step into. We accept the mediocrity of work. We accept the mediocrity of whatever pays our bills. And we make that enough. And so we die in captivity. Okay, this is taking a turn. Let's make it about the Israelites again. So in Exodus 4:11-12, they complained to Moses and blamed him for their possibly imminent death. They said to Moses, "Is it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us bringing us out of Egypt? Did we not say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone so that we may serve the Egyptians?' For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." Can you imagine a people you're trying to liberate, and this is what they say to you? I do have an experience of God calling me to greater, and me just saying, what I have now will do. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's lack of understanding. I think it's fear. And then if we never arise, if we never answer the call, we too die in our wildernesses. And the vastness of the wilderness is anything we're out there doing that is not our ordination, anything we're out there doing while our spirits are dying inside, because we know we're called for other things. Not necessarily greater or lesser, but just other things. Psalms 106 recalls, "Our fathers in Egypt did not grasp your wonders or remember your abundant kindness, but they rebelled by the sea there at the Red Sea." And that's something that is so prevalent. And it comes from brokenness of spirit, and it comes from fear. They truly did not grasp the wonders that were happening right in front of them, all from a broken spirit emitting from harsh and cruel bondage. Meaning, one can be so broken in spirit that they fail to grasp the wonders of what God is doing right in front of them. When we fast forward into their story, we learn that they were never able to overcome their brokenness and that they died off in the wilderness one by one. Then God carried on his plan for them with their children instead. We also learn that Moses was never able to overcome his frustration with them, costing him entry into the land of promise. Lovingly, God called him up to the mountain where the two had spent so much time together, and there he was gathered unto his ancestors to rest. Joshua, Moses' assistant, succeeded him as leader of the Israelite tribes. Oh, these stories, man, oh man, these stories, I don't know what they do to me. Moses died in the wilderness along with the children of Israel in the wilderness. Moses died in the wilderness because of the frustration of carrying this great nation that was so obstinate, so stiff-necked. And this entire generation died off in the wilderness because they could not overcome their brokenness and surmount their fear. We must take heed. Those of us that are in our wildernesses, we must take heed, because come out we must. we are not dying in the wilderness. You and I, we're pulling each other out. We're not dying in the wilderness.